Good evening. The leader of Wiltshire Council says it's a scandal that there are well over 1,000 empty military homes in the county, when more than 2,000 families are waiting for social housing in Wiltshire. The MoD says it needs a supply of empty properties so that service people can be moved at short notice. Karen Bell has this report.
Wiltshire, a hard place to get a home. When an empty council house comes up here in Chippenham, it can get more than 100 bids. In fact, Wiltshire Council's social housing waiting list has grown by a third in 2 years. The 5,000 properties it owns just aren't enough.
The MoD.
Which is why Council leader Richard Clewer has his eye on these spacious homes in Devizes. They're supposed to be for military families. The Ministry of Defence rents them from a private company. But no one has lived in these houses for 5 years, and they are the tip of an iceberg. There are empty military homes across Wiltshire.
There are about 1,350 empty MoD properties outside of the wire, so in civilian areas, inside the county, and those appear to have been empty for a long period of time. Now that's a significant number. When you look at our own housing demand, I have a housing waiting list of over 2,400 families, and yet I've got 1,300 properties sitting empty in Wiltshire.
These Devizes homes have been empty so long that they're starting to fall into disrepair. Lynham is another place peppered with empty military houses. These ones have multiple bedrooms, large gardens and are on a quiet street, ideal for families.
We asked the Ministry of Defence why they keep all these empty homes, and they told us that across the UK they keep enough empties to allow up to 16,000 service family moves every year. In other words, they want enough homes available to allow personnel to move if and when required. But they said they do try and get rid of the surplus homes where they can.
But that explanation doesn't wash with the council leader, himself a former army officer. He says the council has continually pressed the ministry to release the homes without success.
We've had a string of reasons. Apparently they're all under repair. Well, obviously they're not. They're needed for urgent deployment. Well, you don't urgently deploy troops into houses in the middle of Devizes. They're needed for rotation of MoD families. Again, these have been empty for 5 years. So honestly, we're not getting arguments that make sense from the MoD.
To try and meet housing demand, Wiltshire is building new houses instead, around 2,000 a year, often on greenfield land. And yet across this county, many of those much-needed homes are already here, standing empty. Karen Bell, ITV News.
Police are urgently appealing for help to find a missing teenage girl from Bristol who hasn't been seen for 2 weeks. Madison hasn't been heard from since she left her foster parents' home in Southmead on the 26th of April. The 15-year-old said she was going to the shops but never returned. Robert Murphy sent this report earlier this evening.
Where is Madison, or Maddie as she's otherwise known? She is young, just 15 years old, she is vulnerable and she is missing. She was last seen 2 weeks and a day ago here on these streets in Southmead. And it was here today earlier that police went leafleting and knocking door to door to see if anyone had any information about where she was. Maddie has gone missing before for extended periods, but not quite like this before, and police say they are particularly concerned about her lack of presence on social media.
Since the 26th of April, we've not been able to trace any online footprint. That doesn't mean that she isn't online, it's just that we've not been able to find it yet. So we are really concerned for her safety because she's probably likely to be with someone taking advantage of her. She is a child and she's vulnerable, she's in foster care, and her usage on the online platforms is concerning because she's open to a number of people who will be taking advantage of her.
Well, Maddie is young, just 15 years old, and she was living with a foster family. And this is the third public appeal that police have made. They say they were disappointed with the first two, but this one seems to have garnered much more attraction. More people have been phoning in. Police say they just need anyone who has seen her over the last 2 weeks, to call in to contact either them or social services or a family member. And they say that she might not just be here in Southmead or Bristol or the wider West Country. They could be, police believe, anywhere in the country.
Robert Murphy reporting there from Southmead. Campaigners fighting expansion